right, how do I start a short-term rental business with no experience whatsoever? I can tell you that I started back in 2013, did not have much experience at all, and it's entirely possible to get into the game of Airbnb, VRBO, whatever you want to do there in the short-term rental world without any experience. But there are definitely some things that I would recommend coming on the backside of this after having been in this game for more than 11 or 12 years. First things first, if you are going to get into it, buying it right and in the right location is definitely a good head start. What do I mean by that? So if you buy it right, you probably have a property that hopefully you got a good deal on. Maybe it's a property you already own that you're converting to an Airbnb. Maybe it's something that you found either on or off the market that was undervalued. Anything that you can capitalize on that's going to keep that little bit of an advantage, right? When you jump out to the world, you want to keep your expenses down as you learn, right? So you don't want to be jumping into a property. Let's say I see this mistake all the time. People want to buy, let's say, $1 million house on the lake or whatever, and they want it to be their second home. So what happens is they end up overpaying for a property while they're still learning, and they don't really know this business yet, right? They don't know how to treat it like a business, and they're not running the numbers like a business, and they overpaid for a property, and maybe it's not in the right location either. Maybe they love the house, but it's just not in a market or a location that's going to crush it, right? These are common mistakes that I see people making all the time. But can you jump into this game with no experience? Of course you can. Just try to avoid those specific mistakes. The next thing I would say is finding a mentor would be a very smart strategy. Now, a mentor is not necessarily somebody that's already in short-term rentals already, but somebody who's been there and done that. So maybe they're just mentoring at this point. But any mentor in any industry is always going to help you avoid mistakes as you get into it, right? And it can save you years and years of avoiding all those mistakes and learning the ropes, so to speak, yourself, and giving you a quick head start. So I would definitely recommend that. The next thing, of course, would just be to join a short-term rental group. There are a ton of other operators out there that are doing this. You can find Facebook groups. You can find other online groups, either in your city or nationwide. As an example, like Bigger Pockets is a resource. There's all sorts of groups out there, either locally face-to-face or just online groups. But just a place where you can collaborate with other operators, figure out what they're doing, what works, what doesn't work. That is a great way to ramp up and get experience leaning on them from your lack of experience. And that'll minimize your risk and hopefully maximize your chance of success, especially in your first year into this game. Because I can tell you, this game has changed a lot over the last 5 years from where it was. There's a lot more people doing it. It's more saturated in almost every single market. So you do want to get some advantages in your favor. Another thing would be to consider partnering with other people. I have partnered with so many people in real estate investments, y'all. It is definitely a great strategy, especially if that partner can bring other things to the table, right? Maybe they're a money partner. Maybe they're the experienced partner. Maybe they're the ones that are going to help, be the doer. Well, maybe you're the money, right? Or maybe you're both going to take action and kind of partner up and learn the biz. Do understand that if you partner, it's kind of like getting into a marriage, right? Unless you're going to plan on selling the property in 3 to 5 years, partnering up on a long-term investment like that is definitely not an easy decision. So you definitely want to make sure you understand who you're partnering with, what their values and beliefs are, as well as their, business acumen, their trust and integrity level. That's vitally important too, not just their level of short-term rental experience, right? But partnering with somebody definitely would minimize your risk if you choose a good partner. So definitely something to consider. And then you could obviously take a course if you need it or think you need it. Obviously, that's going to accelerate your learning curve, minimize your risk level, of course. It's kind of like a mentorship. I kind of see them as two in the same. I mean, a mentor could be a friend of a friend that's been in this game for a long time. Maybe it's somebody you hit up every month or every quarter for advice, whereas a course is going to be more in-depth, going on weeks or months to kind of hone you and pull you through a bunch of information. But either one can obviously pay dividends and help you avoid a lot of rookie mistakes. Next thing would be to find others that have had success in the game and just copy what they do. Like literally just go on Airbnb and look at your competition. It doesn't even have to be in your same market. It could be any market. But look at their photos that they took, the angles that they took, the furniture they're using, the design they're using, all the stuff with the outdoor amenities that they've got, the way they're pricing their properties, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, although I will tell you to try to be as unique as possible to help differentiate yourself from the competition. But if you don't have any experience, just figure out what works and just try to emulate other people that are obviously doing really well with it, okay? And then lastly would be to just keep your operation costs down. Again, this goes a little bit back on what I said the first time about buying the property right, but a common mistake I see people making is they're either not buying the properties right or they're just making poor decisions and their expenses are so high, it's causing them to have to crush the market in terms of being in that top 5% in both nightly rate and occupancy so they get enough revenue to cover their basis. And it's just not, I'm not saying it's not realistic in your first year, but let's be honest, you're gonna make mistakes. It's gonna take a while to figure out how to price your property right. You haven't been through all four seasons yet in that market, so it's hard to figure out the pricing. It's gonna be hard to figure out how to hire the right vendors, or you might have to get through 3 or 4 different cleaners your first year in because cleaners are very hard to find, good cleaners, right? So again, you're gonna be going through this learning curve. So if your operational costs are down, your expenses are down because you didn't overpay for a property, it's going to give you a better chance of success, right? If you only have to clear, let's say, $2,000 or $3,000 a month before you're profitable, you're probably going to do really well. But if you have to clear $6,000 or $8,000 a month or more in revenue just to break even, you're going to have a really tough time at it, right? Unless you know what you're doing or you got a super great deal on like a $3 million property that you scooped up for $1 million, right? And it's like this, something you can rent out $10,000 for a week, then that's different. But hopefully you get my point here. The very first property, so I started with my primary home first. We just rented out the basement. Second property was basically just a condo in a historic city. And we bought it for like $190, right? Our operational costs on it, I think we were like $2,800 all in or $2,500 all in for mortgage, tax insurance, HOA dues, and utilities, right? So we didn't have to rent that property too much to turn a profit. And to this day, that property crushed it every year because as we got better, that property was paying us like $3,000 of profit per month consistently year after year after year. So that's another great reason to buy them right and to keep that expense down because the market will fluctuate year to year. And if you have properties that don't need a lot of cash infusion to keep them profitable, you're going to do way, way better in the long run, especially if you have no experience. So always think about that. Try not to buy your dream second home as you first get into this game. I see that mistake over and over because I'm on the real estate side with clients buying and selling these properties, and I try to talk them out of that. Just go for the homes that are going to have good demand and treat this like a business, not like the second dream home that you want to hope to make a profit because it's usually hard to turn it. So hope that guys helped you all out. I'm always open for questions and comments. I'll be putting out more content if you guys want to subscribe to this and keep up with me, and look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.